The Eagles are now officially 2-0 in the preseason after beating the New England Patriots 14-13. In this video, I break down everything that happened in the game and generally what has happened this week in training camp. Starting off, who actually played for the Eagles, because if it's just third stringers, then you probably don't care as much. On the offensive side of the ball, there weren't really any starters that played. But the defensive side of the ball is a different story. We did have a bunch of starters, such as Bryce Huff, the new defensive end from the Jets, and pretty much all of our corners other than Slay playing. So the defensive side of the ball was pretty close to what we'll actually see in the regular season. So for the offensive side of the ball, first, Tanner McKee is going to be everybody's favorite quarterback. He played very well. All of the beat reporters already love him. A lot of the fans already love him from last year. A lot of people wanted him to have the chance to be the second string quarterback, and then Howie traded for Kenny Pickett. And the momentum for this is just swelling, and poor Kenny Pickett, nobody's going to want him to be the second string after today's game. Tanner McKee played really well, and Kenny Pickett was okay, but he got sacked a bunch. Partially offensive line fault, partially his fault. And he was just throwing dink and dunk passes. He threw 13 passes and only got 67 yards, no touchdowns. So Kenny Pickett did not look great. Tanner McKee looked a lot sharper. Now, neither one of them were excellent. We did score 14 points in the whole game against the Patriots, who I actually think will have a very good, sneaky defense. They're going to be a terrible team, but the defense, I think, is going to be legitimate. The offense will be terrible. So we had Tanner McKee play well, we had Kenny Pickett play iffy, and we had Will Grier play pretty bad, in my opinion. But four-string quarterback, who cares? I guess I don't really care that much. So running backs, I didn't think they played quite as well as they did in the first preseason game. I think a lot of this was the offensive line did not play as well. So backup offensive lineman is a little bit concerning. So if we do have injuries on this offensive line, I'm going to be a little bit concerned, even if the Patriots defense is good, giving up 5 sacks to their backups. That's concerning. So running backs didn't play great. Offensive line, they didn't shine like I thought they did in the first week. And then the wide receivers, I thought E.J. Jenkins, not wide receiver, but E.J. Jenkins, the tight end, I thought he played very well. I thought he made some good catches. And Joseph Nada, I think that's how you pronounce his name, not 100% sure. But Joseph Nada, the wide receiver out of Clemson, I thought he played pretty well. He did catch the longest pass of the night for 28 yards. Kind of sad that that's the long play of the night, but still, he did that. As far as people competing for that third wide receiver spot, we are just not in a good spot. John Ross didn't do anything. Britton Covey didn't do anything. Ainias Smith, I don't think he's going to make the roster. I don't know how he makes the roster. I know he's a 5th-round pick, so Howie might keep him. But you know what this feels like to me is all of a sudden he gets injured and gets put on IR for the year. So we can keep him, but we don't actually have to play him. He has just looked really bad. He has not earned a roster spot if he gets one. So it's really unfortunate. A lot of people really liked him. It has just not worked out. But really the wide receivers, honestly the whole offense, other than Tanner McKee, did not look good in this game. If you liked the video so far, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. But back to the video. So next up is the most important part of the game, and that is special teams. And I am a little concerned. I'm a little concerned about this because the Patriots ran all over us on these kickoff returns. They had a 53-yard kickoff return and a 32-yard kickoff return. And their 53-yarder almost was a touchdown against David Wallace. So I am very concerned that a actual kickoff returner, like what if we played San Francisco and they put Debo back there? I don't know, there were some big holes and it did not look good. Like, it reminded me of the old days where our special teams coverage sucked. And as we saw in the Super Bowl, this can really cost us and we need to fix this. And I'm hoping that it's just that they were fourth string special teamers and not our real guys. I hope that's what it was. I'm not sure. And I will give John Ross some credit for his 36-yard return. So some promise there. Punter, also Braden Mann. Have to give him credit. Good punter. You know, I stand up for the small guy. Man, way to go, man. But now on to the defense, which I think played really well in this game. We did give up 10 points in the second quarter. You know, it happens. But the secondary is where I'm going to focus, and I think the secondary played really well. This is the best Eagles secondary I think I've ever seen since I've been paying close attention to the Eagles. It's just loaded with talent. We've had injuries. We've already had the injuries, and it still looks good. So very pleased about that. I really thought the entire defense played pretty well. Linebackers, I think, were solid. Defensive line got some pressure. We had 3 sacks. I thought defensive line, legitimate. Nolan Smith, have to give him credit. 2 games, 2 sacks. If he can keep this up through the regular season, go, 21 games, 21 sacks. I think that's enough to get to the Super Bowl. That would be awesome. So, pleased with that. Have to mention Avonte Maddox getting the interception in the end zone. That was great. It was the first drive the Patriots had. They were driving down the field, threw an interception in the end zone. That was great. Really, the backfield, the DBs, or mainly the corners, I just think are doing great. And I'm really happy about that. It feels good to believe in your secondary. So that was kind of my takeaways from the game. But what about the rest of the week? What about the starters? So back to the joint practice. Now, unfortunately, you know, I didn't get to go to it. It would have been a long drive for me, and I worked. So did not make it to the practice. But I listened to probably 10 or 12 different people talk about it. So at the joint practice this week, Eagles versus the Patriots, it sounded like the Eagles just pretty much dominated them. The defensive line destroyed. Jalen Carter has played just as well as we could have hoped. So that was good. Nolan Smith is showing some more promise. It would be amazing if he turns out to be good. If he's good with his speed, he could actually be in coverage. He would unlock a whole new element to this defense. So the number one takeaway was defensive line dominated. Now, I do know the Patriots have a bad offensive line, but still, the Eagles corners all played well. Ringo, Quinion Mitchell, Slay, and then Isaiah Rodgers all played well. And even the linebackers played well, and it does look like Nakobe Dean is starting to get more of a chance to actually play. Like, he got some first team reps in the joint practice, which really surprised me because I actually thought the team was giving up on him and going for Trotter Jr., but it might not be that way. It seems like Nakobe Dean is gaining a slight edge. And I think he had a solid performance again today. So the linebackers might actually be Devin White and Nakobe Dean. So you told me this at the beginning of the year. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. So I can't be that surprised now. There was also the good news that Cooper DeJean did finally get to do some practice coming back from his injury, and he's been out for a while, but he's finally coming back. He didn't play in the preseason game, but it looks like he will play in next week. So our loaded secondary will just get better. And CJ Gardner-Johnson, he's still injured. He's still not playing. And honestly, a lot of this is probably just because he's such a veteran. They don't want to risk him getting hurt. He probably won't play really much until the regular season. Just keep him in bubble wrap, send him to Brazil. Weird, but Brazil. So from everything that I heard, the defense played really well in the joint practice. The offense played okay. I mean, you know, it's the Stars. The Stars played well. Jalen has had a very good offseason. A.J. Brown, of course. Devontae Smith, of course. Saquon showed out some. Third wide receiver, I don't know. it's just third wide receiver is a bit concerning at this point. I don't know if Howie will make a trade. It kind of seems like he should, but if I do have a weakness, third wide receiver I can deal with. The offensive line also did have a few struggles, which is pretty surprising, but I can forgive it. I mean, I'm not concerned about this offensive line. It does appear as though Mekhi Becton has won the spot over Tyler Steen, so that is something to be aware of. We are going to have literally the second largest offensive line in the NFL, just 2 pounds behind the Bengals. So overall, I am very optimistic about this team. I really believe in this team. I think they're probably the third best team in the NFC. I think you have to put them behind the 49ers, unfortunately, and the Lions. But third, I think they're solid there. And in the NFL as a whole, fifth or sixth. And I really believe in them. I think they're going to win 13 games or something like that, have a good chance at the 1 seed, and have a good chance at going far in the playoffs. So that's pretty much where I'm at. That's my coverage of this week in the training camp preseason time. And leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you later for more NFL coverage.